Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Not every single thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancel.
Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go.
With Maher essentially admitting that his connection with Goldberg is over for good, the feud between Maher and Whoopi Goldberg has escalated into full-blown drama. The two, whose relationship was always fragile and never truly close, clashed fiercely over the CO-19 immunizations. While they occasionally patch things up, Maher's latest digs make it clear that reconciliation is unlikely. The tension is undeniable, the rift is deep, and I've got all the details you won't want to miss. Hit the subscribe button to get the full story.
Panel's reaction to Arnold Schwarzenegger saying that immigrants should behave like guests. Well, they're truncating that a little, but that is basically what he said. And he is, of course, an immigrant himself. He came here with nothing but a loincloth and a jar of, and a jar of protein powder, and look how far he got. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg's ongoing feud drew widespread attention after Maher openly sided with Arnold Schwarzenegger on The View. During the segment, Schwarzenegger stressed that immigrants should behave respectfully, reminding viewers that, in his words, they are visitors to the United States. Whoopi immediately took offense, interpreting his comment as arrogant, condescending, and dismissive toward immigrant communities. A brief but intense exchange followed between Goldberg and Schwarzenegger. Rather than staying neutral, Maher publicly backed Schwarzenegger, insisting the remark was reasonable, even as the tension in the room was clear to everyone. Whoopi, however, strongly disagreed. She felt Maher was condoning a stance that belittled immigrants, sparking a new wave of tension and further straining their already fragile relationship.
Now, a little bit, I think whenever you have a candidate like Kamala Harris that clearly was not the choice of the Democrat Party, when she got shoehorned into that space, and then you tried to roll out Megan Thee Stallion and Lil Jon, the East Side Boys, and everybody was trying to say, hey, black men, let's vote for this now. I mean, it just really didn't work.
Well, most of them still did.
Well, one in three black men in the state of Texas voted for President Trump.
Okay, well, let's use men and in a state.
Well, I'm being very specific here because it does matter. We are seeing a seismic shift, and that's the most vote, the highest vote that we got in the Republican Party in the history.
No doubt about it. Trump did better with minorities across the board.
Whoopi Goldberg claimed that Trump isn't truly focused on immigration, pretending she's uncovered the secret that he simply wants things done the right way. Imagine the challenge of demanding law and order at the border. Let's not forget Kamala Harris's brief border moment when crowds seemed to cross as if it were a festival, tickets unnecessary, and honestly, these visitors weren't exactly model guests. America has long faced gang violence, drug trafficking, and cartel chaos, yet an open arms approach was applied. Still, Whoopi feels that holding immigrants fully accountable might be too harsh. That's why Ma agrees when Arnold Schwarzenegger suggests that immigrants should behave like respectful, dignified visitors. Suddenly, it all feels catastrophic. And yet it's easy to see why Maher sides with Arnold. It's practical reasoning, what many would simply call common sense.
Every single member of the Saturday Night Live cast was a Harris supporter. But what if one of them wasn't? What if one of those cast members was for Trump? Would they have felt comfortable saying so? I really don't think so. They would have had to keep it to themselves. That's not a good place for us to be. And I remember when Elon Musk hosted, and this is well before he was a Trumper. This is 3 or 4 years. He was just the richest man in the world. And a number of the cast members on Saturday Night Live, they didn't want to deal with him. And I was thinking, really? You have Elon Musk on your show for a week. You could talk even about this issue that bothers you so much, that he's so rich and lots of people aren't. But no, you don't want to even deal with him. That's what I hate.
Mars is right on point. Anyone paying attention notices the left growing increasingly frustrating, especially when stunts like Whoopi's are involved. The moment Maher and Schwarzenegger went against her directives, they were cast as the villains of the story. The problem with today's left is that, while they talk endlessly about tolerance and diversity, they rarely tolerate viewpoints that challenge their own. Step outside their ideological bubble and suddenly you're an opponent. pushed into a corner, labeled, and dismissed. They rarely engage in dialogue. Attempts at resistance are met with cancellation, humiliation, and marginalization. We've all seen this pattern before. Enforce groupthink, discipline those who dissent, and pretend that everything is improving. It's easy to see why Maher is raising these issues. It's not just fair, it's necessary. Without independent voices like his, all that remains is an echo chamber, which is exactly what the left seems to want.
This would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how, okay, Betty.
Bill Maher didn't hold back in his criticism of Whoopi Goldberg. He confronted her with a harsh reality, but she refused to acknowledge it. Maher argued that if Kamala Harris had been elected president, her immigration policies could have caused serious problems for the United States. He spoke bluntly and in detail, explaining how Harris's history of yielding to the radical left and her lenient border policies could have worsened instability and jeopardized national security. What truly infuriated Maher, however, was Goldberg's unwavering support for anti-ICE activists in California and beyond. That, he felt, crossed a line. He criticized her for backing movements that, in his view, endangered communities and undermined law enforcement. This was more than a disagreement. It was Maher clearly drawing the boundaries of Goldberg's political blind spots.
By the way, I hope is still a friend. We can disagree with each other. Should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Not every single thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancel.
Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is
clearly,
one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the...
Bill Maher manages to show generosity even amid his intense rivalry with Whoopi Goldberg. Unlike many in the entertainment industry, he doesn't place the blame entirely on her. While he strongly disagrees with Goldberg and sometimes finds her arguments laughable, he still believes she deserves to be heard, no matter how outrageous or inaccurate he considers her claims. Maher emphasizes that differences of opinion shouldn't be a reason to shut down a conversation. This approach stands in sharp contrast to Goldberg's. For years, she has often relied on canceling tactics to punish or silence those who oppose her views. In this dynamic, Goldberg represents a desire to suppress voices, while Maher champions free expression. The contrast highlights a broader divide. Goldberg thrives on selective outrage, whereas Maher values open, honest dialogue.
Called The View?
it's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but
It's
isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem.
She is completely right. Lately, the show has felt more like an echo chamber, where a handful of left-leaning commentators gather to repeat the same familiar talking points. It's rarely grounded in facts and doesn't offer a true platform for debate. Instead, the opinions presented at the round table are expected to be accepted as unquestionable truth. The fixation on Donald Trump makes things even more extreme. These women rarely finish a segment without bringing him up. When Trump isn't available as a target, their worldview seems to unravel. They maintain a sense of moral certainty, clinging tightly to their narratives, even though those stories often fail the simplest test of common sense. While the program presents itself as sharp political analysis, it often comes across as driven more by anger than reason.
Sometimes have a very different opinion. And the answer is not to make them sit in a corner for 2 weeks. That is insulting. It's so insulting to make a 65-year-old, I mean, the person at ABC News said, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments. Reflect. How insulting for someone of her age, who's a sophisticated person.
The whole point of free speech is we don't need free speech when we're right, when everyone agrees with us. We need free speech when we're wrong, We need free speech to make mistakes. We need free speech to
Yes.
say really unpopular things. And one of the reasons I'm always proud to come on this show, and I suspect you feel the same way, Catherine, is this is the only space left on television where people can speak freely and not.
Exactly. You can't step in and share your opinions without facing fierce attacks from what many would describe as a chorus of critics ready to pounce. The pattern is predictable. Anyone challenging liberal ideas is immediately shouted down or mocked until their point is lost. Token conservatives like Alyssa Farah Griffin sit day after day watching their perspectives minimized, ignored, or dismissed, and it's hard not to feel for them. Many argue that such viewpoints should be entirely silenced because of their one-sided nature. Yet Bill Maher takes a different approach. He believes everyone deserves the right to express their thoughts, no matter how flawed or outrageous they may seem. For Maher, silencing someone is far more dangerous than simply disagreeing with them.
Because of racism and misogyny. They voted for him because they felt like, I think the biggest common denominator in this election is people want a good life and ability to provide for their family.
Well,
and whether we agree or not with Donald Trump's plans,
Black people
they
are
thought that he was reflective.
One of the poorest demographics in this country, but they voted for Kamala Harris.
But there was a split, and more of them voted for Donald Trump than had historically. I think that there's such a desire. If you really think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny, you're missing it. Most of my family, a lot of my family doesn't have college degrees.
But the stats are the stats.
But that's not, it doesn't say I voted for Donald Trump because of racism. That's not what stat. What stat are you talking about?
Let me just dissect the two.
Yes, you can. There's a lot
Hold on.
Exactly. The usual disdainful gestures and eye rolls are on full display whenever Alyssa Farah Griffin dares to share a perspective that strays from the progressive narrative. Sunny Host, in particular, has mastered the art of the condescending look, making it clear when she considers Alyssa's arguments unworthy of attention. While a majority of Black voters supported Kamala Harris and the Democrats in past elections, many have not kept up with shifts in the political landscape. Once considered a solid Democratic stronghold, the Black vote has shifted significantly in response to Donald Trump. This change has fueled his presidential momentum and broadened the scope of his political coalition. Rather than acknowledging this shift, the women at the table often dismiss the very movement capable of influencing future elections. Ultimately, the Maher-Goldberg feud goes beyond a clash between two celebrities. It mirrors a broader cultural struggle in America over politics, free speech, and the direction of public discourse. No matter where you stand, Maher has built a reputation as a champion of free expression, even when he finds opposing views ridiculous. In contrast, Whoopi often relies on the cancel culture tactics Maher opposes, seeming more focused on silencing or discrediting opinions that don't fit her narrative. When you combine the show's trademark smugness, obsession with Trump, and hostility toward dissenting voices, sparks are bound to fly. One thing is clear. The rivalry between Maher and Goldberg is far from over, no matter your perspective. That wraps up today's video. For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.